Well, good morning. It's day 7 of week 12. Let's try again. Day 7 of week 11. Going into week 12. I just want to show you this. This is a stick. More importantly, this is an ash stick, which I will be taking with me because that will make an amazing spear haft at some point, if you get the pun. But one does not pick up wood when wandering through the woods on the way out. You pick it up on the way back. That's what you do. So if you're ever going to get firewood, what you do is you eyeball all the likely firewood as you walk out. And then when you think that you've got a mental picture of enough firewood, at least for this one trip that you're going out and picking up firewood and bringing it back, then you pick it up on the way back. You don't carry it out to your destination, your end point in the woods, and then lug it all the way back as well. Well, that's not efficient. And one of the things that people don't really get about a lot of survival skills is it's all about being efficient, because you haven't got this civilized society level of food availability, so calories are not to be wasted. I know, you're trying to eat a balanced diet and stuff like that, and calories, you're trying to burn them off most of the time because our food is suffused with them, and it's not down to the design of our bodies. Our bodies aren't designed to be in sort of like, they won't be as healthy if we just ate everything that we could find. But in a hunter-gatherer society, you kind of do, because it's work. And I'd have to say, if you talk to anybody over the age of about 70, they'll remember, especially in the UK, they'll remember times when families didn't have enough food, or they'll remember relatives that talked about not having enough food. So it's within spoken memory that food hasn't always been this plentiful. So yeah, this is especially in the West. I've been on what Americans would call welfare. I've been on unemployment benefit, but that's not strictly being poor. That's not having any spare money. Generally speaking, you've got enough money to feed yourself and house yourself. The only trick is that if you are a broken human being, I need to reduce the length of the boom pole, and you're suffering, most of the people that are living on the streets have some kind of drug or alcohol abuse or mental impairment. Anybody that isn't an addict of some kind, or psychologically non-functional, can't fill in the forms, can't, manage to deal with the stresses that they're being asked to cope with. Oh. Yeah. Life's weird. But the thing is that you can't really pick out the human being from a lineup that's going to make a difference in the world, or write that great song, paint that great painting, sculpt that great sculpture, create that great film, invent that great invention. You can't look at someone and tell. If you looked at, Nikola Tesla back in the 1900s, you'd have thought he was a jock. You can't really make a decision like that about people. You can't really make snap judgments. The guy who discovered microorganisms was just this Dutch dude, who happened to have access to a glass blowing machine. I can't remember what his name is. It might appear at the bottom, it might not. I'm very busy this morning. And when I say very busy, I will, hopefully by the time I go to work, like I've got a full day's work ahead of me as well, I will have done either or all of the editing, rendering and uploading of 4 videos. That's how messed up my schedule became yesterday. Mostly because of one really long video. So I didn't get to put out anything yesterday either, so apologies for that. Although, you know, there's a good chance that there was a collective sigh of relief from around 20 people. So yeah. So I've still got exercises to do yet. And I've got one video uploading that says it's going to take 2 hours. I've got if you've seen the Oldham Way video, that's pretty funny. I've no idea why that's there. As far as I'm concerned, we're coming up the back of Brookdale Golf Club. In my mind, anyway. Weird. So perhaps the Oldham Way is more spread out and more wriggly than I thought it was. This is nice. I mean, if I was walking the Oldham Way, I don't know if you can see this. There's all these little step bits built into the hill coming down here. But I don't know how we'd have got up there. Ooh, I do not know. But I'm gonna go back this way, I think. I don't really want to get trapped in the woods. I don't have a lot of time this morning. Because then when I get back, then the other rendering will have done. And then it'll take me 10 minutes to put this video together with the new template system I've got. And then I'll be rendering that one, and I'll be uploading the one. You see where it's going. So I've got these stacked 4 videos to either edit, render and upload. All because I had one day where I just had to get loads of bits and bobs done and be social and stuff. I'm not saying I had to be social, but it's a good idea. Got to keep in touch with your peeps. It was a lot of fun hanging out with Miles, although I suspect Miles may have switched off the gimbal once or twice, and may have had some minor difficulties filming the camera. But there again, before you criticise and before I criticise, you know, Miles normally shoots with either a DSLR or a sort of like a bridge camera at pop gigs. Like, yes, on Friday it was the very first time, so the day before yesterday, it was the very first time he'd actually had a chance to play with this rig. So, you know, that movie's over an hour long, and I didn't edit it much. I just thought it'd be interesting to see what would happen if you just slapped all that footage together, tidied it up a little bit, and then did the thing. So yeah, that one was all shot by Miles. And if I had intentionally done that, I think it would have been, I would have planned what we were doing and how we were going about it a bit better. But I didn't, because it's, you know, if you're into film or photography, you know, or videoing stuff and trying to make YouTube videos or whatever it is that involves cameras and audio, every time you get out your camera you kind of learn something new, you get to do something interesting and add to your font of knowledge. So I think this is probably the easiest way to do this. Look here, this is my choice. I've got these stepping stones down here to get across this little bit. Don't really want to get covered in water. Or I could try and scramble across all that. And again, not something they really teach you on survival TV shows, but you look for the less injury prone routes over and around things. You know, even though I'm very close to civilization, really, you know, you do not want to get savagely injured in the woods, because, you know, if it was hard for you to walk out of here able-bodied, you know, a broken leg's going to really complicate your day. We do not do the jumping off of stuff and flinging ourselves into the void if we can help it. You know, there's risks you can take, there's stuff you can do. You don't do that. So yeah, so I've got some physical exercise to do and pick myself up off the floor and tidy myself up enough for work, and it'll all be good. So yeah. Very cool. So, lots of things to do. This is probably going to be a real short video. Probably even shorter than the exercise video, because it's circuit training day. Because socialising early in the morning on a Friday, and then all the way to the mid-evening on that day, means that you don't get to do that. It's the hazards of only having one day off per week. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm going to go and get that bit of ash. You may even get to watch. Because it'd be nice to use the right wood for a spear haft. I'll just see if I can whittle that down. Let's see if we can stand the camera up while I do this. Excuse the juddering. Let's see. How are you gonna? So now I need to carefully detach the microphone. So the sound's going to go a bit wonky. All that for nothing. Okay, so when I was someone's cycling down that bit I always walk down. So when I was coming up the length of it to have a look at it, oh, some irk. Not only did they snap over a tree in a really thoughtless way, and it's an ash tree, and they're not, you know, the most common tree in British forest, although around here there are quite a few, but they also managed to snap it all the way down the length of the haft. So that means I'm probably going to have to leave it for a little while until I find another bit of standing dead ash, because I don't have a spearhead yet, so I'm going to go for opportunities. But yeah, oh, everybody has value. But, you know, just the way people randomly destroy stuff thoughtlessly just gets me down. And all for, you know, a little boost of brain drugs. No reason. So that's where I'm going to leave it. That's a little bit depressing, but let's not dwell on that. And yeah, thanks for watching, and do take care.
Walking day. Hello everyone, good afternoon. Not much exciting going on. Go for a walk, power's out. At home, don't know what happened. There's no storms anyway, so I figure someone's driven into a bloody telegraph pole somewhere. Anyway, when you live a couple of hours from the nearest electricity depot, and most electrical repairs take more than an hour or two to repair, then when the power goes out, you get used to the idea of not having any power. So I came for a walk with the dog. My hat isn't on straight. That's a bit weird. I've got my hat on, I don't know why. It's not hot. Keep my head warm though. That's good. We're going up our hill. Go over there, we'll go to the clearing. It's quite nice. Anyway, we'll go up the hill. Yeah. Yesterday's run was good. Lots of fun. You know, roughly half hour 5k was not something that was on the cards, pardon me, 12 weeks ago, but is on the cards now, which is phenomenal, really. Bit of a change in pace, really. Push-ups are slowly getting better. That's what they think I find hardest is push-ups. I hate doing push-ups. Back injuries suck. Anyways, we're going to have a conversation today. Question for you. So, power's gone out in Yakananda. You know, pretty regular occurrence. So regular that most of the businesses in town have diesel generators to run the refrigeration to keep the stock cold. So they'll shut down, the terminals don't work for FPOS. So I literally just turn off everything, and then the cool room is kept cold by, if they're freezers, they just stay cold for a couple of days because they're well insulated. But if they're, especially in winter time, but if they're cool rooms, they will warm up. So people run Jennies, diesel generators, to keep them going. But diesel generators only operate as long as there's diesel. That's an interesting point. So, you know, what do you do when the power turns out? There's an interesting question. I'll go this way. What do you do when the power turns out? You know, do you have your blackout bag? You know, do you have your bag of goodies, your torches, your tea lights, and all your things already collected in a black bag where everyone, come on, where everyone knows where they are? Or do you have none of those things? You know, is your torch in the same spot every time? Who's put that there? Someone's been running a path across here like a dick. And has dug up shit and put in a ramp because they're too lazy to lift their fucking bike over. Like a cunt monkey. Pardon my French. Like an annoying human being. You're not a wombat, don't adapt landscape. Adapt to the landscape. There's a saying. Do not adapt the landscape, adapt to the landscape. Yeah, that's what human beings should do. We should adapt ourselves to the landscape as much as humanly possible. We should not adapt the landscape to ourselves. We are clever enough to change ourselves. No other species, apart from maybe amoeba or bacteria or viruses, is so clever. Someone has definitely been in here on either a dirt bike, which is going to annoy the shit out of me if they have done, or on a mountain bike. It looks like a dirt bike from the skid marks, and that means that they've probably torn the crap out of everything and probably need to have their motorbike taken off them. Yeah. What else was I going to ask? Yeah, it's definitely a dirt bike. You can see it. There's skid marks everywhere from what they've run it up hills and stuff, like a bogan. If you're a bogan, don't go to the bush. Stay in suburbia. Hang around in your ghetto. Do not escape to the wildlife. The wildlife does not want to meet you. Bogan, an oddly Australian term. Yeah. And what else was I going to say? Can't remember now. Oh, it was an interesting dichotomy. I was just talking to Mrs. Epic Gods and Kevin, talking about glamping, glamping four-wheel drives, and that struck me as being interesting because most of the bushcraft videos you see are not people going anywhere. It is literally people walking, maybe a kilometre, maybe a couple of kilometres at best, maybe a mile at best, type thing, out into the quote-unquote bush, or in a forest, and then, from a vehicle, and then dragging enough gear out to, keep an army going for months on end, which is entertaining. It's, not what I consider to be bushcraft. Bushcraft in the Australian sense is very much like, craft. The term craft means the human creation of something or other. Kangaroo poo, or is it wombat poo? I think it's actually kangaroo poo. The creation of things out of, inside of the bush. So, there's a great set of books called Bushcraft, the Bushcraft series books, 10 volumes in all, written by a man. There's mushrooms, tiny mushrooms, written by a man named Ron Edwards. Little tiny orange mushrooms. Those are not psychotropic mushrooms. Yeah. So yeah, if you've got a chance, have a look at Ron Edwards' Bushcraft series. Very Australian centric, but very cool. There's a pine tree. Make pine tree tea. Make spruce tea. There's a wattle tree. That's some kind of eucalyptus tree. I don't know what kind. It could be a stringy bark though, from the look out of it. That's a dead tree. There's a big gully. That's a casuarina, I would say. Yeah. So, in answering, or more in statement of what V was talking about, V was talking about knowing plant species in your local area yesterday, and I think it's a really important thing. I think it's one of those things that actually interested me about the original Wilderness Outfitters or Pathfinders School production stuff. Back in the day, I'm talking like 10 years ago now when it first started up, and part of the deal was to go along and find 10 species of plant, 20 species of plant, whatever it was, that were useful in your local area, catalogue what they were, how you would use them, which is one of those things, it's a very useful skill to know the things around you. In Australia, it changes dramatically. If you go from here up the hills, you go from a wet sclerophyll forest into subalpine and then into alpine forestry. If you go north of here, you go into the grass plains and dry sclerophyll forest, so dry eucalyptus forest. And in those 4 different areas, come here, you'll get completely different trees. You'll get very similar. Well, you'll get some similarity in the weed species, because the weed species can obviously cope better. But you also get a lot of differences in the weed species, which is very interesting. You don't get mesquite bushes here. You don't get mesquite trees here. The other side of Albury, you get mesquite trees all over the shop. You don't get olives here. On the side of Albury, you get heaps of olive trees. Here you get pine tree. You get lots and lots and lots of pine trees. Lots of blackberry. Lots of... I'm surprised we don't have more rhododendron in the bush here, which is weird. Yeah. No. Anyway, there you go. Plant ID, important stuff. Find a book. There's lots of books. If you're in Australia, if you're watching this and you're in Australia, there's heaps of books produced by Department of what are they called? New South Wales Parks and Wildlife Service. Lots of land care books about introduced species and what they do in the local areas you're in. In England, there's Collins Gem books and all this sort of type of stuff. In England, it's interesting because it's obviously a very small place, and because of its history of farming, very similar species across the majority of the United Kingdom. No. Anyways, there you go. Have a good one. I'll see you in the future. Bye. I'll go for a run too.